Hi, my name is Chris McAllister. Welcome to the SightShift Podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family.
Well, welcome into the SightShift Podcast for another episode. As always, good to have you along with us. He's Chris. I'm Mark. We're back for another culture-related episode. If you're tracking with us and you don't have a copy of Make Culture Your Edge, go get one, makecultureyouredge.com. You can find it there. Follow along in the movement. We're drawing out concepts from the book, but going deeper, things that aren't in the book. We're having a little fun. If you recall last episode, we left off with the third tension point, which is conflict. As we think about these tension points, these things to pay attention to, these things that don't have to be interpreted as threats.
Yeah.
Conflict is a big one. Today, we're going to double click on conflict, go a little bit deeper, and talk about the three what we'll call the tension or the risk factors is how we think of it. So we're going to double click, go a little bit deeper on conflict, but just to come back to some of the things that we were talking about conflict and to help tee up where we're going. Observations from the book, from my experience, conflict is necessary, but it's often handled poorly.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah. Life is hard, man. We're just two guys trying to figure out where to put the camera. And then you try to actually do something in the world, right? I mean, so the whole model starts with there's a vision, you're communicating. I mean, conflict would happen just period. Full stop, humans interacting and relating.
Yeah.
But even more so, if you have a family and you're trying to move a vision forward, you're trying to release children into the futures they could have, you're trying to have a long-term marriage, you're trying to build an organization, you're trying to start something from nothing, you're taking over the business from your dad. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, it's hard enough because humans, it's messy, we're insecure, and you mix a vision into that produces change, which we talked about in the previous episode or 2 episodes ago. You are going to be in a place that now these insecurities are getting rooted out because we have to get to a deeper relationship. Not like it's an objective. I have to achieve a deeper relationship. It's the stuff of life. I mean, can we talk about Darwin?
Sure.
I mean, it's not in the book, but since we've come out now,
Sure.
I'm going to do all these episodes different since we've come out. But like, I mean, that was the fundamental thing that shifted. You look at Kant in philosophy, Darwin, there's a lot of other voices. And it was just this, there is no inherent purpose in creation. It's just trying to survive. And so consciousness is just an emergent property of the folding of a protein in your mind. Well, if that's how you view the world, why then do we judge the quality of our lives by our relationships? I mean, all of us, you can feel like you're going through hard times, but if your relationships are good, it feels like life is good. You can go through great times and have bad relationships, great circumstances.
And life feels bad.
Exactly. So what's inherent in the model is that the point of all of it, the point of reality itself, is an ever deepening relationship. And if we viewed it from a healthy terms, it's an ever deepening self-giving relationship. That I'm learning to find myself in the giving of myself. In the emptying and filling and in the serving, I know more of myself and I know more of you. And that means there's something happening in relationships that if you're not working with this, you're working against it.
Mm.
And so relationships degrade. You're blocked up. The relationship is blocked up. And you're missing the quality of the experience, the deeper vulnerability, the deeper laughter, the deeper joy, whatever. I mean, all the things we can talk about, all the risk factors, and they're opposites.
Yeah. So
that was different than probably where we were planning on opening.
No. It's always different. And I don't want this to feel like too hard of a left turn or a segue, but before going into the risk factors, one of the things that I wanted to draw out, and maybe I'll just roll it back and start here. The assumption that we're making, no. The belief that we have is that because you're listening, because you're watching, because you're here, you are in agreement that the stuff of life is about relationships.
Yeah.
It is really about building this healthy community around you and experiencing the benefit. Like, it's not just all give. There's receive there, right?
Absolutely.
It's just giving first so that you can receive. We are of the belief that you are of that same belief, and this matters, and that's the goal. Now, let me take it a little bit further, because one of the things that we're saying with conflict in particular is that there's healthy conflict that's required, and there's unhealthy conflict that needs to be nipped at the bud, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the question I would love for you to help us understand better. How does one know when this is healthy conflict and it needs to be drawn out and leaned into, and when this is unhealthy conflict and it needs to be shut down? And I want to overlay that with maybe some proving energy example versus a hiding energy example. Like, help us understand what healthy conflict can look like, so that we can be paying attention when we get into the risk factors of, oh, this is really where it's drifting unhealthy, or it's being avoided altogether and it needs some work.
Yeah. I mean, at the starting point, if you think unhealthy conflict is when we fight about getting to the truth, and healthy conflict is when we don't fight about getting to the truth.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental flaw, because unhealthy conflict is when I'm in the conflict for my own validation. That's unhealthy conflict. Healthy conflict is when I'm in the conflict and it's not for my own validation. Because when I'm in conflict in an unhealthy way for my own validation, it's going to show up as proving. I'm going to have the wrong tone. I'm not going to be relaxed. My nervous system is going to be dysregulated. I'm going to give you a signal to loop in on. Your nervous system is going to be dysregulated, or you give me that signal and I loop in. Yep. Somebody has to break that.
Yep.
And I'm going to increase my tone. I'm going to increase the pressure of my arguments. I'm going to be more dramatic. I'm going to do things to try to pressure and get my way. So I'm going to miss the person to try to get my point across. And that's the proving unhealthy conflict. The hiding.
Can I pause you there?
Yeah.
Because I hear that, and I'm tracking in my wiring, my lens. I hear it as, I'm going to pound the table and I'm going to prove I'm right. But there are other expressions of
just manipulating.
Proving. Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Like discounting your feelings.
Oh, yeah.
That's not the way that you should be feeling here. Like tease out some more of those.
I love this. Thank you. Because this is what you do so well. You bring it down and let's build it out more. And I'm like, let's go on. We got so much we can cover. But yeah, I mean, it's the talking you out of your experience, because you're insecure and you can't just authenticate their experience. I mean, you're just going to keep going round and round and round and round. And, you know, it's the super charming. There are people that are amazing at doing all the things that we say as a society right now are effective means of leadership, and they express so much empathy in such a way, but it's really very, 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 very disturbed in its motive and in its intent. I mean, they're a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. Manipulative.
Exactly. They're smiling their way through,
Yeah.
and wooing you. And so all of this, when the motive is about you trying to get your way, you trying to be validated, you're not looking at it going, how do we both transform and get better through this? What are you saying I need to hear? What do I need to learn from this? Instead, it just becomes this, unhealthy proving energy. And yeah, it's not always pounding the table, but I got to win and I got to get my way. And that's a person who you have to have a better game to play than the one they're playing if you're in that dysfunctional situation. But I would say, just because people that have been married a long time, they have a tough fight. Just because somebody raises their voice or whatever, it doesn't mean they're a narcissist, right? We throw all these labels at things. Sometimes the person that is yelling the least is the most narcissistic, because they're finding that way through to take advantage of you.
So this is good. Proving some examples. There's also the hiding. So now color in an example or examples of hiding in conflict or from conflict.
So when you're in conflict in an unhealthy way and it's for your own validation, the hiding piece here is you can diminish the truth that you're trying to bring across of your experience and what you feel. And when you do it for your own validation, you can be so worried about the being understood in the moment that you're not giving them the understanding they need to then help your truth come across. And so you can tell someone's manipulative when they just try to get you calm and then they have nothing to offer to it that, I'm not saying this is always true, but that shapes the together of where we're going to be sharper, clearer, different, better. Instead, they're just calming, and then they're now withdrawing their truth and expression. So they're hiding. Now, you could also be somebody who is eaten up with the insecurity in such a way that, like, this relationship can't handle the expression of my truth or the feeling that I'm having. And if you're in a healthy relationship, a healthy team, healthy community, healthy marriage, whatever, we all should have moments where we can be at our worst in terms of our nervous system, but the other person is helping us and going, it sounds like this is really important for you, and I want to understand what's happening. I'm trying not to react to something that I feel pushed by right now on that. It makes me feel like I'm doing a bad job, but let me hear this a little clearer. Here's what I'm hearing you say. Like, that's a real effective way to not hide. But what ends up happening is in this exchange, as things get heated, other people, if you're in a team setting and two people fight, I care more about the other 6 people and what they're not saying, because they have a big perspective, but they're like, this isn't worth it. A, I don't want to get in an argument with them and look stupid. B, I don't want to be wrong. C, maybe it's out of their own insecurities. If I bring my issue to bear on this, and it's deep stuff in their mindset. People go, oh, it's not that deep. It is that deep. My issues are a burden to this team, and I can't burden us with this. So that's the hiding, and there's a ton of that happening.
Yeah, good. That's great. Again, just helping to tease out the contrast between healthy and unhealthy. And as we progress in this series of episodes, we'll get into more what the light side looks like. We're focused mostly on the dark side because that's where the problems occur, and that's where we can be paying attention and notice and do the thing. This came out in an episode that we were talking about as back in 25 and the 10 stories. It was the Dave Vance episode. If you can't see it, you can't change it. So we're shining a light on the dark side so you can see what's happening. We'll get to the light side, but I think that's a good way to help contrast and see what does it look like when it's not just a brawl as conflict? And maybe the brawl is what's absolutely needed, but there are other issues around unhealthy conflict that we're drawing out. I've said enough. Let's move us into the 3 risk factors now. So like with the other tension points, there's a 3x3 here. We're going to double click on conflict, and we're going to talk about 3 risk factors: damaged relationships, broken trust, and hidden agendas. Let's start with the damaged relationships. And you can go wherever you want to, whatever is occurring to you. But one of the things that always comes up when we're talking about this in small and large contexts is the cookie for dinner versus nutritious meal for dinner. So we weave that into this as you take us deeper into the whole idea of damaged relationships as a culture risk factor to be paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about like a lot of leaders today, they think, well, you just got to listen to the people. What are they asking for? Give them what they're asking for. And specifically, if there's an insecurity around the way we language it, the fear of not being needed, the way you try to earn love is by being dependent on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you what you're asking for. And so, not saying that everybody on your team is like kids, but the parenting analogy holds true. 99% of what a great leader needs to do is what a healthy parent would do. If your kids are banging on the table saying, we want cookies for dinner, when they're in the pantry, I see them, cookies for dinner. It takes about a split second as a parent to understand if you always give into that, you're harming your children. You're giving them the cookies, and then later they're going to resent you for not teaching them nutrition.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can have a cookie for dessert after you have a whole meal. But the person that's going to be eaten up with this insecurity that's going to produce this risk factor at the highest level, they're just indexing on, I'm giving them what they asked for. So I must be doing a good job as a leader. And what you're doing actually is creating a context where you're going to have lots of unnecessary conflict. Because either A, they're going to get diabetes and spin out like crazy, or B, they're going to resent you, and maybe both, for not caring enough to see underneath the demanded need for what the real need was. And that's what a leader has to do. If you just constantly give in to what people want, you are going to create a culture of adults sitting in the high chair, pounding and screaming for what they want, and it may not be what they really need.
Yeah. You've used this in many different contexts. Leadership is not a temperament, it's a template. For the leader that has the fear, the temptation around being needed, without awareness, it's going to feel like, if I give you what you're asking for, then I'm serving you well.
Yeah.
But when you roll back or peel back the veneer there, really it is about validation. I will feel better by giving you what you ask for because it makes you happy in the moment, and I can avoid potential conflict.
I gave you what you asked for.
You don't really want this.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah. This takes me to like so many companies that we work with that are like, well, let's do a survey. And it's like, when in the history of time, truly, have you surveyed a group of people and said to them, what do you need? And people reply back, let's have fun. We'll do employees and kids. Employees. We're struggling right now with a lot of meaning and engagement. And if you could just cast a clearer vision and how we benefit from it. If you could help us understand that engagement is not linear and always up and to the right, but cyclical, and how we can all re-engage in a deeper way, that would be amazing. Nobody is going to ask for that, or they're going to go lead their own thing.
The amount of times I gave that feedback to leadership during my corporate career was 0.
Yeah. And what happens, like, you as the parent, let's take a kid analogy. Stress is high. It's winter here in Columbus, Ohio right now. Officially, it's been winter already. You got to have the awareness, like as a parent, to be like, our kids have like a ton of pent-up energy right now. We need to go to the trampoline park or go out to the backyard and burn some of this off.
Yep.
Right? That's the idea here. You're discerning what's really needed. And we've got examples we use in the book where we've seen some silliness around this. But like, that's what's so powerful about this wiring. If it cannot be insecure, it actually is very good. So if I have somebody on the team who has this as a top identity fear, I'm going to help them become secure in who they are. Then I can say to them, what's the real need we're missing right now?
Help me to see it.
They're freaking awesome at it. But if they're insecure, you ask people what they want, and then they're like, we need blank. And whatever blank is usually some trite kind of benefit that isn't going to do the trick long term.
Yeah.
And then you're like, later on, you resent them and you're bitter. They leave. They don't show up with their imagination captured. And you're like, I gave you what you asked for.
Right.
Well, don't hold it over me, because that was your job as the leader to figure that out.
Yeah. Thus the damaged relationships.
Yeah. Cowardice. We lead through focus groups.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Let's keep rolling. Unless there's more that you want to say about damaged
there always is.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
There's more than we have time for. So the next risk factor inside the tension point here of conflict is broken trust. And I know this is...
I don't struggle with this one, so I don't know.
I know you have good line of sight into what's going on here. The overarching idea here is that feelings get dismissed and discounted because they're not seen as facts or even really understood as data.
Yeah. I mean, I love how we've worded all of these. The tension point here is conflict. That's the threat. And the risk factor we're talking about right now is broken trust. The wiring of a person, especially a leader, who has this as like a top identity fear, they take people's bad feelings personal. If you have good feelings, I'm doing a good job, so I can feel adequate. If you have bad feelings, I'm doing a bad job, so now I feel inadequate. So what's the best way that I can handle this? This is the immaturity of it all.
Yeah.
I've done it many times. I'm going to use the facts to talk you out of your feelings so I can feel good about the job I'm doing and not bad about the job I'm doing.
Works every time.
Every time. The number of, history is littered with examples of countries at war coming back together. No.
Right.
Marriages, whatever. And I've been dumb as a parent, as a leader, whatever. And so what happens is you can do that once. You can do that twice. 3 times a lady. No, I'm kidding. Nobody will ever get that, but that's okay. So you can do that once, you can do that twice, but you keep doing that over time, you break trust.
Yeah.
What builds trust, and this is the thing that people don't get, what builds trust is being able to see someone else's experience, witness it. If I can help you feel seen, known, heard, and felt, if I can witness your experience, that's what builds trust. And what's happening when you're leading for your own validation is you're so busy trying to keep their experience from being witnessed because it reflects poorly on you.
Yeah, it feels bad.
Yeah. And it's like, here's the thing. If you're in any kind of leadership role, there's always going to be ways you're not at your best, or there's always going to be things that have to be developed and grown. There's no way you should ever think that there's going to be a context where you as a leader have reached some place that will never have any kind of disturbance. Because there's always ways for the culture to get healthier, resource allocation to be better, ahead of things. I mean, no culture's perfect. And because no culture's perfect, no relationship is perfect. And people that have this wiring, they sit in the chair and they're like, how many times am I going to have to? I mean, I do this. I get insecure. And I just want to say to my wife, can we just be good forever and no problem between us come up? Like, could that? And that's a stupid thing, but I'll word it differently. I'll be like, we good? I don't want any surprises, And in other words, I don't want something to come up that's going to make me feel threatened in who I am.
Yeah.
You could do this with team leadership. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? And it's really your way of just trying to say, I want to get past this, and I don't want to be caught off guard because your bad feelings are going to be too much for me in the moment.
Yeah. So I like when you talk about this one in particular and say, before I break trust with others, I break trust with myself.
Yeah.
Color that in some more.
Yeah. I mean, all of these risk factors, you do them with others because you do them with yourself, right? So in my wiring, it is easy for me to discount feelings and to deny them. I'm typically not dominated by my feelings. Occasionally I am. But more often than not, I deny my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So I break trust with myself by denying my feelings. And it doesn't mean I'm saying on the other extreme I'm dominated by them either. I'm present with them and I'm aware and learning. And when I'm present with them and I'm aware and learning, I'm not breaking trust with myself. And I actually have a deeper trust in my own intuition, my own, guidance system, which makes me more whole and then not threatened. Yeah. If I am not doing that with myself, I don't do that with others. I'm so glad you brought that out.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. Thank you. Okay, so that's risk factor number 2 inside of the conflict tension point. The third one is hidden agendas. And I'm just going to refer to my notes here to make sure I get this right, because I like this. I like this phrasing. When we're only sharing our wins, we're unrelatable. And when we're only sharing our losses, we're uninspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not paying attention to this risk factor and we're letting it play out, the wiring, the lack of conflict or the too much conflict or whatever, proving and hiding, it's going to result in people going off and doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hidden agendas. Tease that out.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the great things that's misunderstood about vulnerability is that vulnerability is all of the things we've already been talking about. Admitting need, accepting feelings. We're actually giving it a more direct, definite, specific application, and it's this. It's being honest about what isn't buttoned up, where there's a chink in the armor. Or maybe a better way of saying it is what's human. Because it's not only the negative, it's also the positive. The person that has this identity, fear, vulnerability that creates this risk factor of hidden agendas, it's because they're trying to move through relationships in such a way that they don't ever have to feel the pie of power is shrinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm too human to you. I'm not appearing above and better, and so the pie is shrinking, and you're not going to give me the power I need to lead you. Or I can't reveal this thing that I'm in motion on or in process on because you, in thinking bad of me, are going to take from this pie of power, and it's going to shrink. And so what this identity fear does on the proving extreme, they overfill the space with their power, and they're too demonstrative, and they're too disorienting to others, and they're indexing continually on power as a fixed pie rather than seeing power as an inexhaustible growing pie. The more power I give you, the more power I actually have, which is a crazy thought, but it's multi-thousand-year-old ancient wisdom. I mean, this was the heart of everything that was happening. And I think this is just a fun little thing, Easter egg to throw in. All of these risk factors are tied into ancient lists, fruits of the Spirit, Beatitudes. And there's no greater list of teachings for how to transform a society than the Beatitudes. And it's in this interplay of, I don't have to protect power as a fixed pie. The more I give it away, the bigger this pie grows. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is Nelson Mandela, this is Martin Luther King, and we can go through all kinds of examples of people. So I don't have to be overly demonstrative. Now, today, we also have a lot of people who have this fear of vulnerability, and when they're hiding, both expressions are a closed book. One isn't human enough. It's too much demonstrative power.
Unrelatable.
One is too closed off in hiding, so I can't follow you because I don't really know if you're human or not. Uninspiring, exactly. So then when you get either expression, people fill in on their own. If you're a demanding, overpowering leader, you're going to cultivate rebellion. People are going to go run their own agenda, hidden agendas. If you're not filling the space enough, you're not clear enough, they don't feel connected to you, and they can't translate things in the moment for what you would want, because you're not giving enough expression. I want this outcome, I want this result, I want this process, I want it to get to here. Then people go, well, I know what Chris wants. Well, if I haven't made it clear, no, they don't. And so then again, hidden agendas. And so, if you're a leader and you've led for a long time and you're frustrated continually at how people aren't getting what you're throwing down, you're too much a closed book. And that's why then you start back at the beginning of the model.
Yeah.
That's why this is like a circle. It's like a steering wheel you can drive. If coups are forming underneath you and you're constantly having to fight off threats, you're overfilling the space with presence and power.
Yeah, I like that. I'll offer something from my own experience too. You've heard me mention this before, but for this is not, by the way, this is not one of my top struggles in my wiring per the IFQ and my own experience.
True. Because even a task I might struggle with, you'll do it and send the email and just, it's so direct and clear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want them to like me. I didn't want to say it that direct.
But here's what I do struggle with and why it's relevant here. I want you, the person that that is experiencing me, I want you to experience me as I'm buttoned up. I'm good. Like that's a word that's deep in my vocabulary. And so what I realized in doing my own work is that I was giving just enough to make it seem like I was human, but not enough for you to really see my struggle or to admit that I wasn't good, so to speak. And I've come to call that faux neurability. FAUX neurability, faux neurability. And in my own way, I was manipulating. I'm giving you enough to make you think, oh yeah, I can struggle with this too, but not the full picture. And so for me, the journey has been moving from vulnerability to true vulnerability. Now, it's not bleeding out on people. It's not airing dirty laundry, but it is sharing losses, challenges, struggles, trips and falls in such a way to recognize, like, I'm human. I'm on the journey. I'm a fellow traveler. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm moving in a direction. So maybe that helps you to hear that and evaluate even in your own experience. Are you being vulnerable or are you being truly vulnerable in the moment?
Ooh, I'm so glad you offered that, because here's a test that may be helpful for people, for me, around that idea. Not everybody, but my inner circle. If you don't have an inner circle, you'll never fully be transformed and go as far as you can as a leader. My inner circle needs to know the things that I would feel humiliated by, so that I can learn the humility from them. And again, not everybody needs that load or then I'm making it about me and I feel better. Now you carry it.
Yep.
But like, that's the idea. What are the things that I wish I could avoid talking about? In your inner circle, you're going to have to talk about those things.
Yeah.
That's how they lose power over you. So you can actually start growing the pie of power.
Yeah, it's good.
Which takes us back to the first risk factor. There's a pain you want to avoid.
Yep.
And on this goes. So
we'll cycle back through that as we move forward into the light side of the model, and even draw more out of it. As we leave the 3 risk factors of conflict, anything else that we haven't drawn out or that's on your mind that you want to put on the record?
I mean, hopefully you're just finding the simplicity of the model and the simplicity of each section of the model. So if you have a team eaten up with conflict, what's the playbook? Yeah, you got to go back to vision. Do we have a vision we're all agreed upon, capturing our imagination and the necessary change that comes out of that? But as you get specifically into conflict, it's like, okay, if I'm stepping into a team that's full of strife, what's the real need?
Mm-hmm.
What are the feelings? And where are the vulnerabilities?
Mm-hmm.
If we can know those about each other, that is we like the term protocol today, that is the protocol to a deeper relationship. Full stop.
Love it. Okay, so here's some practical application as you're processing all of this. If you haven't already connected some of these dots for yourself, maybe this will help. Where is there conflict or lack of conflict that you need to be paying attention to in your leadership role and responsibility? And then the invitation, take it a little bit deeper. What if that wasn't a threat to you? What if it really represented an opportunity for the breakthrough moment that you can have with your team, with your family, with your organization, in order to deepen the connection? All right. Well, thanks again for being with us. As I said at the top, Make Culture Your Edge is the book. You can find it at makecultureyouredge.com if you don't already have a copy. Of course, you can always follow along all the time for more at SightShift.com. SIGHT is the site. Shift.com is the full URL. And we'll see you back again next time for another episode.
Thanks so much for being with us on the SightShift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.